Olympic freeskier Eileen Gu draws fire from Scott Bessent over China decision. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent recently ignited fresh debate around Olympic freestyle skier Eileen Gu, claiming she sold out by choosing to compete for China instead of the United States, a remark that has drawn both criticism and defense across American media and public discourse. Bessent made the comments during an appearance on Fox News' The Will Cain Show, echoing broader political scrutiny over athletes with dual nationality and their choice of national representation. His remarks have intensified discussion over national loyalty, sport, and the intersections of politics and global competition at events like that. In the interview, Bessent suggested that Gu's decision to represent China, a geopolitical rival of the United States, amounted to a kind of betrayal, asserting that America was great to her, she sold out to China. He further compared her choice to political figures perceived as critics of U.S. interests, framing the argument in cultural and political terms rather than strictly sporting ones. These remarks followed earlier comments from U.S. politicians, including Vice President J.D. Vance, who questioned why American-born athletes might opt to compete for other countries. Bessent's critique has been interpreted by some as part of a broader conservative commentary on national loyalty, while others argue it conflates athletic choice with political allegiance. The reaction from the American public in social media has been sharply divided. Some commentators and fans back Bessent's concerns, arguing that athletes who benefit from U.S. training, resources and opportunities should feel a strong pull to compete under the American flag. Others, however, have dismissed the sellout narrative as overly simplistic, noting that athletes with dual heritage often have personal, cultural or strategic reasons for choosing one nation over another. Online discussions have seen criticism of Gu's decision, with some minimizing her achievements or accusing her of prioritizing financial opportunities, alongside equally vigorous defense from those who emphasize athletes' right to make their own choices. Eileen Gu's own perspective. Gu has previously addressed similar criticism by explaining that her choice to represent China was deeply personal and rooted in her dual heritage. Her mother is Chinese, and her desire to inspire young athletes in both countries. She has said that growing up between cultures shaped her identity and that competing for China gave her a unique platform to promote her sport and support wider participation, particularly among girls and underrepresented groups. Gu has also acknowledged that the discourse around her decision has sometimes become politically charged, suggesting that much of the backlash reflects broader tensions between the United States and China rather than her own motives as an athlete. Scott Bessent's comments labeling Eileen Gu a sellout have amplified an already heated debate at the intersection of sport, nationality, and politics. While critics see her decision to represent China as a rejection of her American upbringing, supporters argue that personal heritage and the global nature of modern sport justify athletes' choices. With polarized public reactions and contrasting interpretations of loyalty and identity, Gu's situation reflects broader tensions that extend far beyond the ski slopes of the Olympic Winter Games. As the discussion continues, it highlights how global competition increasingly intersects with questions of culture, affiliation, and personal values. Snow-capped mountain introduction. A star on the slopes, and in global conversation at just 22 years old, Eileen Gu has become one of the most prominent athletes in the world, widely celebrated for her extraordinary accomplishments in freestyle skiing, including multiple Olympic medals, and her impact beyond sport. Yet the attention surrounding her has not been limited to medals and accolades. Rather, a fierce debate has emerged over her choice to represent China at the Winter Olympic Games instead of the country of her birth, the United States. This discussion recently intensified after U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent publicly criticized Gu's decision, accusing her of having sold out by competing for China, a remark that sparked wider debate about national loyalty, cultural identity, and the role of politics in global sport. China snowboarder who is Eileen Gu. Eileen Gu, also known as Gu Eiling, was born in the United States to a Chinese mother and an American father. From an early age, she showed immense promise as a skier, quickly rising through the competitive ranks. She also developed a deep connection with her Chinese heritage, spending summers there and engaging in sport promotion activities long before her professional breakthrough. By choosing to represent China internationally, first at the 2022 Winter Olympics and again at the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, Gu stepped into a unique position as not just an elite athlete but a symbol of global cultural exchange. She has since become the most decorated female Olympic freestyle skier in history, collecting gold and silver medals across multiple disciplines. Speech balloon Scott Bessent's criticism, sold out, or misunderstood. The controversy reached a new peak when Scott Bessent, who serves as the U.S. Treasury Secretary, appeared on The Will Cain Show, Fox News, and sharply critiqued Gu's decision. Bessent stated that she had sold out by choosing to compete for China instead of the United States, language that framed the choice as a betrayal of her American roots in favor of representing a geopolitical rival. Bessent's remarks reflect not just a critique of one athlete, but a broader cultural stance that athletes who have benefited from American training, infrastructure, and values should feel a particular duty to represent the U.S. at the highest level. In his framing, the choice to represent China carried symbolic implications tied to national loyalty and identity. However, this stance has drawn criticism itself, with many commentators arguing that it conflates sports with geopolitics and overlooks the complex realities facing athletes with multinational identities. Brain the debate. Perspectives on Gu's decision. Small Blue Diamond critics view national loyalty and responsibility. Critics like Bessent argue that Gu's choice to represent China, especially after benefiting from American resources, is unpatriotic. Some feel athletes should give back to the nation that nurtured their development. This view often emphasizes a traditional understanding of national representation, that it signifies loyalty and gratitude. Within this narrative, Gu's decision is painted not merely as a personal choice, but as a symbolic alignment with a country that is both a global competitor and political rival to the United States. Small Blue Diamond supporters view personal choice and cultural identity in contrast. Many supporters argue that Gu's decision is deeply personal and rooted in her dual heritage. She has consistently emphasized that her choice was made at a young age and influenced by her desire to grow the sport in China, where freestyle skiing was less established and presented a bigger platform for impact. From this perspective, competing for China is not a rejection of her American roots but a strategic decision to broaden her influence in a region where the sport can truly flourish. Supporters stress the global nature of sport and argue that national affiliation should not be judged solely through political